How you guys doing today? We're doing a master class, and as you can see, I've got a comm on. So today we're going to be talking about directing a little bit, and specifically, we're going to be talking about what to do when a miscue happens, when something happens and it doesn't go right. So maybe that's a director gave a cue at the wrong moment. Maybe the lighting rig just decided it's going to go crazy. Maybe a pastor's mic didn't come on, or it did come on at the wrong time. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. Maybe the platform manager goes out to the platform to set a lectern, and it's during the wrong video. In every area of what we do, miscues can and will happen. It's really hard to have just something perfect every time. If you think it's going to be perfect every time, you're mistaken, and it doesn't matter who you talk to in production, both in the house of worship world or in the professional world. It happens, mistakes happen, and the mark of excellence is actually, one of the marks is how well you can cover your mistakes, how well you can rebound, and overcome that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the very first thing I want to tell you is we have to put God first in everything we do, because when tensions are high, when mistakes happen, our tendency is to freak out. Like, oh my gosh, we just jacked this up. You know, pastor went to go start talking and the lights didn't come up, or his mic wasn't on, or the platform manager is still out there trying to put the TV on, or set the lectern, or a pastor forgot his Bible, or maybe it's they're doing offering and the host was supposed to have something in their hand as an illustration and they forgot it. Maybe during worship the lights cut out. I could go on and on, right? But here's the thing: there's going to be things that are out of our control. And also, there's going to be things that we just mess up. But we have got to remember God is in control, not us. We have to know what we're doing. We have to study. We have to be ready. We have to have an understanding of what we're doing. If you're running audio or presentation or lighting, pretty much anything, you need to know the songs. You need to come prepared. But you know what? We're not perfect. We're human. We're going to make mistakes. And so when we know that God's in control, we can take a breath and we know that it's going to be all right. The other big thing is what I was talking about this weekend: over communicate professionally. OCP. We have got to remember that most of us are here giving of our time. It's a sacrifice. For most people, this is not their job. This is something that we come and do voluntarily. I did that for almost 8 years here at Element Church, and I did that for 5 years at another church before Element, before I came on full-time church staff. So I understand what it's like to give of your time and to volunteer to do something and to be part of something that's bigger than you. So it's an honorable thing. But we have to remember that in those moments where it's high stress, high tensions, we know there's something wrong, and sometimes we just want to take some of the other people on the team and shake them and be like, what are you doing? And we can't do that, guys. We have to treat one another with respect, because they're here doing the same thing we're doing, giving of time, giving of our talents. So what I mean by over communicate professionally is pretend like the person that you're serving with, whoever it is on the team, is somebody that God appointed for a specific purpose. So if God himself or Jesus came to you and said, hey, I'm going to give you this presentation person. I want this presentation person to be running slides today. Or I want this camera operator to be running camera today. Or whatever position, right? You would be like, Okay, Jesus, you know what? Sure. You know what? And I'm going to work with that person. I'm going to make sure that I'm respectful, that I'm honoring that person and honoring their time and treating them with professionality. So guess what? Every week, that's exactly what happens. It's no mistake that you and me and everyone else on our team is here serving and running, whether it's running a camera, being an audio assistant, being a stagehand, being a service director, it doesn't matter. Everyone is here on purpose. God doesn't do things by mistake, and you play a part in what we do every week. So over communicate professionally. Now let's talk a little bit of practicality, okay? At any given time, there is a mess of people on comm. So chatter can be happening, and people want to give their opinions and things like that. But you know what? We have to let our leaders lead. We have to let the people that are over certain areas lead. Okay, so I want to talk about like communication flow and chain of command, and I want to kind of walk through that. And then what we'll do is give maybe a couple of practical scenarios. Okay, so in Element Live, let's just take Element Live and Fireside, okay? Obviously, the two venues we do weekend services in right now. In Element Live, on the main comm channel, you've got a service director, an audio person in the booth, lighting person in the booth, a platform manager, an audio person backstage, sometimes, a program director, a camera director, a presentation operator, and a video director. So that's 9 people right there. And that's not including the camera operators because they're on a separate channel, okay? And so let's just say the presentation person's on a private channel, which that's depending on who's running presentation, sometimes they prefer that. Still, that's 8 people. So that's 8 different voices. Now you throw in Fireside because we have a channel that connects to Fireside as well. So our service director, video director, and program director can communicate with Fireside. Over in Fireside, you've got a service director, you've got lighting, you've got audio, you've got presentation, and you've got platform manager. So that's 5 people right there on average. Normally, I think we might have even a 6th comm over there that we don't use very often, but at minimum 5 people, right? So at minimum, without including camera operators, the minimum on a weekly basis is 13 people, okay, on comms. And yeah, I know they're not all talking to each other at the same time, but here's what can happen. So if a lighting cue doesn't get hit, that affects everyone. It affects audio because the communicator may not know it's time for them to start talking, and the audio person is waiting to turn a mic on. And it obviously affects camera and video. It could affect platform managing if they're waiting to bring something out on the platform. It could affect Fireside because now, like if Pastor's standing in the dark and it's a live feed to Fireside, we have nothing. So it could affect everything. So it would be easy for everyone to say, hey, what's going on? Hey, did you hit the cue? Go to the wall plate and start thinking of all the solutions. That's one of the things I love about this team. This team wants to problem solve and find solutions. That's awesome. But here's what needs to happen. I'm just using the lighting cue as an example. There's so many different examples we could take. We don't have time to run through them all. But let's just take this, okay? If a lighting cue happens to misfire or doesn't go off or whatever, let the lighting person, let the lighting team, if there's a lighting operator and an L2, give them a few moments. I get it. 2 or 3 seconds can seem like an eternity. But I guarantee you this, that lighting operator is trying to figure out what's happening. They're not just like, oh no, I'm just go get a donut. They're not doing that. They're working through their rig, trying to figure out if they need to release a different cue or enable a different cue. And you know what? Worst case scenario, what the associate producer or myself will do is they'll go to the wall plate and override everything just to get lights on. So there's protocols for that. But the other big thing I want to say too is in those moments, there needs to be calm silence. There really does. Because like in this example, if it's a lighting miscue, the 2 most important people that need to be talking at that moment is the service director and the lighting operator, or the L2, whoever's on comm for lighting. because that director, that service director, they need to know okay, is there a different queue they need to call? Do they need to make an audible? What do we need to do? Do they need to let the platform manager know, hey, bring the bullhorn out, right? So if everybody else is like trying to actively problem solve or give an input or an opinion, what happens is now we don't have clear communication between the overall service director and the lighting operator. And that can make things even more stressful and more complicated and more confusing. So just remember, the service director is ultimately the person that's giving all of the cues over that comm. So everyone needs to be listening for the service director. And then if you're in the control room, I know that sometimes presentation doesn't have the main channel on. I know I don't like to have the main channel on. It's just too much for me. But if you're in the control room, your video director is the person that's given those cues. And if you're on camera, if you're a camera operator, then your person that's communicating with you is your camera director. So there's a chain of command for everything. There's a communication system we have in place, and we have to abide by that. Again, I really appreciate that everyone wants to find solutions, but man, in those stressful moments, what has to happen is we have to give each other some space to really think through how we're going to fix the problem and how the service director needs to react. And service directors, I want to let you know too, you guys carry a weight that most people do not understand. But I want to encourage you too, to all of our service directors out there, including me. I direct from time to time as well. You probably have the most important job of making sure we're overly communicating professionally, and that because you're setting the tone. If you're the service director, you're setting the tone for how the rest of the team is going to react. So, for instance, if you call a queue, or if you ask for verification, like, hey, how much time's left, or do you have that? Is that recording happening? And somebody doesn't hear you. What I will do, like a best practice, so to speak, like what I do and a lot of other top directors at churches, they'll just give courtesy. They give the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they didn't hear me. Maybe they were distracted. Maybe pastor went into the control room, is talking to the presentation person at the moment. We don't know. And so what I'll say is, let's just use the program director as an example. If I'm service directing, hey, program director, I want to just verify we are recording on HyperDeck, right? Give it a few moments. If no response, then I'll say, hey, just wanted to make sure that you guys are hearing me. Do you guys copy in the control room? I'm looking for verification that we're recording on HyperDeck. Because it's easy in moments like that where you're like, oh, crap. Are we recording? It's easy to be like, hey, anybody there? you guys listening to me? But we can't do that. So as our team grows and as the church grows, we one of the things that I really want to focus on is leadership and communication, because we're all leaders on the team, and if we add another campus, another venue, the levels of complexity only grow, and so these are just really good things to remember. So one last thing, if we do have a miscue and we recover from it, the lights come back on, the pastor mic opens up, whatever. The video plays after a miscue. Also remember this, we all make mistakes. So what I'd love to make sure we're doing is encouraging one another as well. Let the past be the past. It's like, oh yeah, we had a miscue in the second service. It really sucked. But you know what? We recovered from it, and our team is awesome because we bounced back. I'm telling you, on the music side of things, it's the same thing. Those guys have constantly have to build each other up because you know what? We're all human. None of us are perfect. The musicians, they forget chords, they forget words. Drummers sometimes get off the click. It happens, right? It happens with professionals, people that do this for a living on tour. So you know what? It's going to happen to us. And the best way we can recover is to encourage one another and keep lifting each other up and saying, hey, you know what? We're going to do it even better next time. So that's all I have for today. I hope this was encouraging. I love you guys, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate every one of you. Have a great day.